Let's take a look at some practical problem solving. And I want to describe to you why that's so important. First of all, the environment that you're in presents you with a bunch of challenges. All of ours do. There's gravity, there's the position of things, there's our own physical body that may be stronger or weaker or taller or shorter or whatever. We've got all these different variables in there. And then you add the fact that we've got these habits that we've had for 10, 20, 30, 40 years, and it takes a long time to change those things. So what I want you to be focusing on in this particular section is what are the habits that you do with some simple tasks, I say simple, common tasks that you do on a regular basis so that you can personally look at it and go, I am doing it in a more demanding way maybe than I need to. With some changes, I can maybe reduce or offset the position, change the position, maybe change the forces, maybe have an influence on the repetitions that I'm doing to try to bring down the demands. Here's why it's so important. Every day, we are doing lots of things out of habit. I'm a therapist. I had a guy come into the clinic once and he came in and he was all bent over and I said, what happened? He said, strangest thing. He said, I hurt my back brushing my teeth. And I tried not to laugh, but I looked at him and I'm like, how much toothpaste did you put on that thing, right? But here's what he did. Every day for years and years and years, what did he do? He walked into the bathroom, put toothpaste on his toothbrush. What was his first movement of the day? Boom, bent over the sink. He started his day with a lift and did it every day, twice a day, for years and years and years, and eventually the body parts start to wear out. So how many things do you do on a regular basis in certain positions that influence the forces that you do multiple times that maybe are taking more of a toll on your body than they need to? So let's look at some simple things. One of the things that I've heard a lot from people is that they hurt their back raking. And I'm like, with the heavy leaves, right? I mean, here's the thing. What I want to make abundantly clear to you is that for many of the things that we do, the position is what is influencing the forces. Because if I'm going to rake some leaves and there's a leaf that's just out of reach, how do I get it? What's my first movement out of habit? It tends to be this. I tend to extend the rake by doing this. This is not repetitive raking. This is repetitive upper body lifting with a rake in my hand. And what I want you to do is notice that. I'm not even saying you got to change it today. I'm saying notice it. So what do? I tell them, you imagine that rake is connected to your body and that rake cannot go anywhere that you don't go. So now if there's a rake that's out of reach, how do I get it? I step towards it and then I bring it back and I step towards it and I bring it back. What I want is a body that's going, I don't know what you're doing. Instead of, oh my gosh, how big are these leaves that you are picking up today? It's the keep it close, it's the keep the curves, it's a feet first. It implies a lot of the principles. And what you are doing is you're doing the same amount of work, but you're doing it with less effort. And that's what ergonomics is about, is how do you improve your relationship with your environment to make it less demanding on your body. Shoveling is the same thing. People look at shoveling as a very demanding task. But why is that? It's because they will do almost the same kind of thing. They will take the shovel, they'll lean forward to get closer to whatever they're picking up. And now what they've got is not only the length of the handle, but they've also got the length of my entire upper body. That's now the distance. And I've loaded it up, right? So now we've got position, we've got the forces, we've got force here, we've got force here. And then what am I going to do? I'm going to go out and I'm going to do my whole yard. I'm going to do, if I'm in Minnesota, I'm going to shovel my entire driveway this way. And guess what's going to happen? My body the next day is going to say to me when I wake up, not letting you do that again, right? And in fact, I'm going to make it hard for you to put your pants on and brush your teeth and do a whole bunch of things. Why? Because your body is looking at it and going, I think you chose the most demanding way to do it. The same principle applies. I want to act as if this is more a part of my body. And if I want to shovel, I have to go where the shovel is going. Then when I want to bring it up, I got to bring it up with my body, not just with my low back. All right? And again, it's a lot of the same principles for lifting. Now, let's look at an incredibly demanding task. I can't tell you how many people have come into the clinic telling me that they hurt their backs vacuuming. Again, I try not to laugh when I hear these stories, but I'm going, so did you try to vacuum your entire house from one spot? And in many instances, that's what they do. They will stand in the middle of the room, and then what do? They will go like this. That is not vacuuming. That is repetitive upper body lifting. You just happen to have a vacuum in your hand. What does vacuuming look like? I pretend like it's attached to my body, and what do? I go with it. Wherever I'm going, I go with it. It reduces the reach, which changes the position, which changes the force. The repetition is going to be there. If you've got a shovel, if you've got a rake, it's however many leaves are there. If you've got a vacuum, it's however big your house is. The repetition's hard to address, but I really want you to be thinking about the positions that you get in to do different tasks. So let's look at something that might be a little bit more common for some of you, and that is lifting. What's the right way to lift? I don't know for you what's the right way to lift. What I'm going to tell you is that if you can keep it close and keep the curves and build a bridge and move your feet first, what are you going to do? You're going to be impacting the position that you get in. That's going to influence the forces, and it's going to reduce the impact that repetition has on your body. For me, what am I going to do with this? I might, depending now, again, this isn't a very typical box, I might sit there and go, well, wait a minute. First thing I want to do is just elevate it. Why? Because it's much easier for me to get it in what we call the power zone here, get it above my knees. When you go to pick something up, if it's on the ground, because of habit, it's almost like a magnet. What does it do? It tends to pull us down towards it. When we get something up in this range, somewhere between mid-thigh and the shoulders, guess what we do out of habit? We tend to slide. We tend to push. We tend to use our body much closer to the power position. So when you go out there to look at the task that you're doing, if something's on the ground, figure out, number one, why is it on the ground? And number two, how do I potentially manipulate it in some way to get it elevated? If this was down and I had to go get it because I couldn't elevate it, I'm going to stagger my stance. I'm going to get a bend in my knees here. I'm keeping the curves in my back, and I'm going to try to get as close to it as I can without losing that curve in my back. What have I done? I'm locked in here, and now all of that work is coming from my lower body. Let's say that you had something on the ground that you had to pick up that was light and just with one hand. Maybe you've heard of a golfer's lift. What a golfer's lift looks like is you actually build a bridge. We've talked about that in the lifting video. And as I start to bend forward, I just bring up that back leg. And what does that do? Do you remember the principle of keep it close and keep the curves? That allows me, as I bring that back leg up, it allows me to keep my spine in its natural curves and its power position rather than going down like this and flattening it out. Here's what I want you thinking about. Raking, shoveling, picking up boxes, moving things, getting stuff in and out of a vehicle, out of the back of a truck, or whatever it's going to be. This video and the videos that talk about ergonomics are designed to make you a good observer. There's nothing magical about them. They're not suddenly going to change what you do, but they may change what you see. And when you see it and you go, well, I could get closer. Oh, well, I could move my feet more. Oh, I could get my arms into a different position. Oh, I could ask for help. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. But the idea here is that it starts with seeing it. It starts with some very simple problem solving, and that will go a long way to reducing the risk on your body. Want to learn more? Check out these other videos next.